welcome to the next episode of the Backstory on Marketing and AI. And if you haven't already done so, please visit prorelevant.com and sign up for more of these episodes and podcasts. As you know, I am the author of the upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine, and you can find out more information about that at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. So today I'm interviewing Len Ward of Comexis. And let me tell you a little bit about him. He shows a rare blend of financial insight, entrepreneurial experience, and AI expertise. He brings practical, forward-thinking guidance to today's business leaders. He's a sought-after voice for business leaders ready to understand how AI is changing marketing, operations, and growth, and of course, what it takes to stay ahead. Welcome, Len. So good to have you.
Great. Thanks for having me, Guy.
Absolutely. So, what is your backstory on AI and marketing? How did you get involved in all this mess?
It's funny, owning an agency for a better part of close to, I guess, 20 years now. We all have heard the term that this is all going to be automated at one point. It was always like the threat for marketers, and we always felt like the runway was going to come to an end. And I think we thought that because we would see certain tools that we would use from, back in like 2007, 8, all the way to a few years ago. But I really got turned on to AI with Watson. It was IBM Watson, and I think it was back in 16 or 17. And you were able to test it out, and I think you were able to pay. We did pay a monthly subscription fee, and so I understood. Okay, when we was testing out, and we were kind of putting prompts in there, and I kind of really forget how that was working. But I remember, and I say this a lot to people. It was horrible. I was like, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But what we did know is that if this thing could do what we think it's going to do, which was the very first breadcrumb where it's like, look, you're going to enter something in and this thing's going to talk back to you a little bit, whether it's typing it or however it's going to be. And it's going to try to start working through a problem with you, which is a very different world from what you're doing with Google or however search engine you were using at the time. And Google mainly, and you're searching, looking for, trying to fix your problem and digesting all the content and then using your brain to kind of organize it and go from there. We're there now. This is taking all that content and putting it in a nice size package for you. So when I thought about that, I was like, okay, well, that's a direct impact to SEO. That's a direct impact to pay-per-click. That's a direct impact to, any type of marketing we're doing. This is a problem. And then from there, you started hearing the murmurs of obviously OpenAI. ChatGPT is the one that became the true iPhone of all of these products right now. Then we started, kind of ramping up. So I would say Comexis for the better part of 3.5 years now, 4 years, we've really been all in on AI. And the minute our team looked around and saw what it did, we pushed all the chips to the center of the table. Our thought process with how we arrived here was AI is more than a tool. If you leverage its intelligence, that's where you really start succeeding with AI. Too many people are trying to augment tasks and try to make tasks faster, which is good. But when you leverage its intelligence and understand how its intelligence works and then blend it with, your human rationale, now you're at a different level when it comes to marketing and running a business.
Yeah, I like that, and it is the intelligence. Although sometimes it gives you these answers that appear really good, and yet when you kind of dig deeper, you go, well, wait a minute now, that was written so well, but is there really some meat behind there? But I do see your point though, and we are moving from search to a kind of a solve my problem situation, or where, I mean, today when I go into search, I use that AI overview from Google, and it's usually spot on with just about everything. But what do you think that means for marketers? How do you think they should be preparing for that as we move from this incredibly valuable channel of search and organic search and paid search now over to AEO or GEO, whatever we want to call it?
I mean, I think that you have to start opening if you're not really starting to try to figure out how your brand is going to be mentioned in the LLMs, and how consumers, when they come to your customer's website, how you can solve their problem immediately, that you're doing your customer a disservice. So from vibe coding to off-the-shelf products you can put on a website to solve a customer's problem quicker, all the way over to, like, we've talked before, building out the brand. And are there sponsorships? Are there podcasts? Are there other things we can do opposed to the lead gen, hamster wheel? I think this industry has been caught in for the better part of 5, almost 10 years. Get me the lead, get me the lead. And the hell with the brand. And that's the wrong way to go about marketing because you're not creating any type of asset. So I think it's, if anything, AI, for as advanced as it is pulling us back to the pillars of marketing that we learned years ago, where it's like, if you're not building this brand up in some capacity, even away from digital, I know it's hard for us to think, but there are things that are not digital that work. Um, you're doing your customer a disservice, but I do think you have to move your entire team when you're with a customer. Let's say you're an agency, you have to be at the stage now to say, let's identify the customers that our customers are going after. What are the problems they have? And are the assets that we're putting in front of them, are they solving that problem? From pricing to specking out what a job would be, all the way up the chain. You can no longer be afraid of putting all of that content out there in some sort of vibe coding product or whatever it may be, because if you're trying to hold things close to the chest, well, we don't put that out there. With the advent of AI, you can find out anything, anywhere, anytime within a second. So drop that. You got to move on from that and put all your stuff out there and see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that is going to be a mind shift certainly for some industries where it has been, behind the kimono and and didn't want to necessarily show that off, and yet right now you can almost go out to AI or Chat GPT and say, what should I think the cost is going to be for this kind of a project or that kind of a software, and even though it may not be publicly available, it usually gives you a reasonably good answer of what to expect.
Yeah.
The other side of AI though is not only on how we as consumers or business decision makers are going to use it for that intelligence, but we are building in workflows and really working to streamline some of our processes and organizations. How do you see companies responding to that? Is that can it be used throughout the company or is it just marketing? How do you see them responding?
You mean with AI per se, how to
Yeah,
implement
yeah,
it?
yeah. So like AI, workflows and things like that.
Yeah, so I think AI, the best way for a company to embrace AI is marketing is the easiest way. I think marketing, you can sit everybody down in a room with a company and they generally all understand marketing. I mean, we all understand that, your business is there for wherever you're working because you're solving somebody's problem and getting paid for it. That's the whole underlining pinnings of, what economics are. What are you solving? Or what businesses. So I think once you understand what AI can do in marketing, then you kind of start moving a little bit into sales and then you move into customer service. And as you start understanding the bottlenecks that it's solving right there, and then you kind of maybe branch out a little bit from the engine that fuels the company over to HR, then at that point you can start moving into, all right, what are the other things that we have going on in our business? What other types of processes that we have or bottlenecks that we have that AI could solve? And is the bottleneck because too many people are involved? Is the bottleneck because it takes too long to ingest content and try to make a decision on that? Where is the bottleneck from? And if the problem is, there's a lot of content we have to go through or there's a lot of steps we have to take, that's exactly where you put AI in, what AI is going to eliminate that. So I do think my recommendation, I work with companies and it's easy for me to say because it's marketing, but marketing is the easiest, fastest way to walk into AI and then start building it all the way out. When you do that, you are actually rewiring the way your company is built the right way. And then you are a true AI first company opposed to, let me just go grab a couple tools and we'll do our job faster. That'll help in the short term, but in the long term, AI needs to be absolutely woven within your company's DNA going forward.
Yeah, and actually when you think about what marketing represents in the company, marketing represents kind of the interface between the company and the customer, and if the marketers really understand how their customers are acting and making purchase decisions, and then reflecting that in terms of how they can build out AI workflows and really engineer them properly, then that flow that takes the company, the customer, and how they're going to decide how we're going to build our marketing against that, and then you can work the company and the rest of the pieces that align to that, so that we can deliver on what the promise is.
Yeah, I agree. No, that's I agree 100%. That's exactly how you go about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we just, it's funny how there's these big waves. There was way going way back. There was the office automation. There was, then of course the dot-com boom, and then there was the 2000, the year 2000 kind of activities, and then there was COVID, of course. Now we all kind of survived, and I think probably the one that was most like what we're going through now was the dot-com boom. You were heavily involved in that on the financial side. But how do you see what happened there, and how do you see that working with what's going on today?
It's very similar. It's funny when I would sit in those rooms, and I remember a lot of those companies going public, and I was a young guy working on Wall Street, but I was lucky, and I say that all the time. I was lucky enough to watch some of these companies like rise, and you saw them turn public, and then next you know they're publicly traded, Google, Amazon, and so forth. Like you watch this stuff taking place. There was a lot of trepidation with it back then. A lot of people are like, there was always a hesitation of nobody's going to purchase something online and I'm not using email. And there just was a lot of this hesitation of technology. And it was pretty adamant. I used to watch Wall Street analysts getting laughed out of a room or like, oh, that's never going to happen. Like, because you thought they were talking like something magical. But I mean, obviously the very smart marketing managers or the money managers and mutual fund managers, they saw what was coming. You see the same thing now, but I feel like that was like a whole new horizon where, to me being a young guy and loving the internet back then, I'm like, this is going to be great. Where this differs a little bit right now is the speed. Like for there, I feel like you had time because you had to build out the entire infrastructure, super fast, high speed internet and all that was barely a thing back in, 98, 99, 2000. But now this infrastructure, I know they have to build out data centers and all that, but the reality of it is you can grab your phone right now and you can interact with AI immediately. You could put your company on an AI first trajectory, starting with marketing immediately. So I think the difference here is the speed. And you're right, you made a good point, even like when you got all the way up to COVID. And I've said this to people before, we didn't truly hit digital nirvana where every company was, had a website and hit full, marketing capabilities. It was COVID because you had to do it because we were all stuck in a home and you had to try to find a way to sell your product, online immediately. This is not going to take that long. So what took 25 years for the internet revolution to kind of roll all the way out, this is going to take about 18 months to maybe 24 months where you're going to be, if it took 25 years from, we'll say 2000 to, or I guess 96 to 2019 or 2020, whatever COVID ended, I forget, 2023, whatever. Right now you're looking about 2027, it's going to be a dramatic shift. So I think the hesitation, the end of the world's coming, it's going to take everybody's jobs. They were saying the same thing back on the internet. And you remember that. We all heard that. Everyone's going to be fired. And I think this will hurt the jobs a little bit more than the internet did, but I don't think it's going to be as catastrophic as people think. I think there will be some jobs that'll be lost the same way the internet was, and maybe a little bit more than the internet provided, or internet, destroyed. But those are the similarities I see. But my concern though is that companies are saying we'll let the AI catch up to us and so forth. Like they said, we'll let the internet catch up to us, and you were able to get away with it back then, not now.
Hmm.
Now it's whoever chooses not to really adapt to AI and helping make decisions and so forth are going to they're going to fall behind. Those are the people that are going to lose their jobs. Everyone talks about job loss. It's the companies that don't adapt. They're the first ones AI is coming for.
Well, I think the double whammy for marketers are those marketers that are marketing buggy whips because they are in deep doo-doo.
Oh yeah.
Man, oh
Yeah.
man, oh man. But
Yeah.
it is funny because you're so right. The office automation and the dot-com boom, I think it led to more jobs overall,
Yeah.
but certainly there were individual jobs that got impacted. And if you were if you didn't have the mindset that I'm going to just ride this wave, even though I'm going to lose in the short term, if you don't ride this wave now, you are going to lose out. Whereas if you go ahead and try and ride the wave, then you can really, I think you can not only win, but you can win in a very big way. And I think that's what's going on. And I think, even these engineers that get let go from Microsoft and, there's been a handful of other ones where they've let go 1,000 engineers. Those thousands of engineers, they are going to, I mean, that's what they do. They create stuff. They are going to drive something that is just going to be incredible. That's going to explode this whole AI, this whole AI boom even more so than what it already has done.
I agree. I think the thing, and a lot of people say this, and I agree. And I think it was Sam Altman who made the comment. I think it was Sam. You're going to see the first five-person company that's making $1 billion in revenue in the
Yeah.
next couple of years. Like it's the micro entrepreneur is arriving, and America's at its absolute best when we're letting entrepreneurs come in and start building businesses from the ground up. So I think the days of working in these really large organizations because of AI may really diminish. But I do think that the rise of entrepreneurship, you may turn around and find your husband, wife, brother, sister, friends starting a little business, and they're going to do really, really well with it. So I think, if you again, we'll go back to stats, like if you were in a room and you're 10 people and five people are working for a company and five are working for themselves, that's going to move up to like seven people working for themselves. And I think that's what's really good right now. Once we get through this ugly time of trying to fit AI, who's going to lose their job and all that, once you're over that hump, and I've said this a lot of times, it's going to be a really, really good spot. It's going to be micro entrepreneurship. You're going to work 2 to 3 days a week. I think we're going to look at a very, very different culture because remember, the 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, that's a Henry Ford model from back in the day. This is how you work with the assembly line. Well, when you have a revolution, the production line per se changes. So our production line is about to change. It's who is going to embrace it and who's not going to embrace it. And I think as Americans, we would feel really weird about not working 50 to 60 hours a week, 5 days a week in the office. Like it doesn't make any sense to us, but it's going to have to make sense to us because this is shifting and this is changing.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And I do like your term, the micro entrepreneurs. I think there's going to be an incredible amount of value creation with companies just like that, whether it's an individual or whether it's, 3 or 5 people or even 50 people, the ability for AI, which is more or less, you don't need a lot, you do need a lot of infrastructure, and that's certainly coming, but you don't need a lot of infrastructure because it's so easy to use. It's not like you had to build out, a wide area network or you had to then get, a high-speed internet line to your home or to your business or whatever. All of that's kind of in place now. It's basically whatever idea you have that you can, build it out and build it out incredibly quickly.
Yeah, you don't even need like the one people I think that are going to have a little bit of problems is I do as much as I think marketers are going to have a problem. Like I do think our industry is going to get. I think we're going to get whacked by about 50% minimum. I really believe that. Coders, that's a problem. If you're a coder right now and you've made a lot of money coding, and they are some of the most brilliant people you're ever going to come across, they really are coders. With the advent of vibe coding, and you can just talk to something and just start typing things in, it's building an app, it's building a product. That to me is what's is revolutionary, and that's where your micro entrepreneur is really going to live. Like everybody's had a great idea in their head, and they're like, "Oh, I got a great app idea, or I had a great website idea." Now you can just talk to something, and you're going to get it built. Now, these things aren't perfect. There's a lot of like bugs in them, and you do ultimately need a coder to kind of get it through the finish line. But so coders are gonna have a little bit of a problem. So I'm going to be very interested to see how they adapt. But I do agree with you. I think those micro entrepreneurs and how they start learning how to play around with it and maybe manipulating some code that maybe common people like me wouldn't really understand. I'm going to be very interested to see what they come out with because you're going to start seeing, yeah, those Steve Jobs type mentality right now. And if they have all this power to start doing mass projects with the coding they know, that could go very well. But if they're getting paid just to straight code for a company right now, I would definitely be a little concerned for my job.
Well, I hear what you're saying there, and I generally agree with that. But every coder that I've met, he has always had 25 ideas in the back of his head, and he constantly says, "Boy, if I had the time, I'd really like to do those." Now, in good news, bad news, he may not, he may be let go, but he now has the time and the incredible speed that you can get to build an AI app. So he could take those 25 ideas and maybe turn one or two of them into something that does hit it big. And
Agreed.
so it is kind of that shift. Of course, that coder does need to have that entrepreneurial spirit, and I think when you get whacked in the face and you lose your job, you you wake up. Most people I know wake up pretty quickly, and in this American spirit that's behind that, they should be able to hopefully transform, transfigure themselves to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think the best advice I can give to anybody who is thinking about doing entrepreneurship, I tell them all the time, the book you have to read and make it your Bible, read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. If you think you can be an entrepreneur, read it because it's going to immediately let you know right away. E-Myth is entrepreneurial myth. Like so everybody says I can go out and do it better myself, but I agree with you. As long as they have that entrepreneurial spirit, especially as a coder, the products they're going to be able to roll out with, you are right. What they have in their head is amazing, and it's going to be very interesting to see what a lot of these people roll out in the next couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so right now when we think about chatbots and whatever they're, we kind of think of them as AI chatbots. What do you think about the concept of like a brain chatbot where it's really, connected right into our thinking and stuff like that? Where do you see that trend going?
You mean brain where it's like tapped into our physical brain, you mean? Or
Well, I don't know, just being able to better replicate what we're thinking, as opposed to, kind of, building the prompt and then improving the prompt, as opposed to really understanding, what is Guy all about and what is he trying to achieve here and understanding that and then being able to, come up that much quicker with an answer.
so I think that comes back to our original conversation about agent to agent marketing. And I think that the wearable devices, I know that OpenAI is very close to trying to come out with their first device. And there was a blueprint that was going around that some people saw as a little cylinder type thing that you would kind of clip on you and it would actually have a camera and it would start digesting all of your content. It's looking at what you're doing and all of that. I think that's coming. There is no question, and that could be part of that operating system that we're all going to have. So I do think that that product will be out shortly. Whoever's going to put it out, I don't quite know. Heard a podcast a while ago, and somebody made a point where Google's AirPods that they may have a little small cameras on the side of them,
Oh,
and you're going to be looking around, and that's one way they're doing it. Somebody else was talking about how you're going to put the meta glasses on, and you'll like a hospital bed if you're a nurse or a doctor, and you're looking at the patient. The AI is going to be looking at this stuff and interpreting all the data, and it's going to help you interpret what you're seeing and then organizing that stuff. So I think to reach that brain per se for what you're asking, I think that's going to be solved by wearable devices. I have heard, and I thought this was the craziest thing ever, that your phone is going to be obsolete in a couple of years. You will not be using a phone. I thought that was the craziest thing I heard.
hmm.
They were like, once you hit these devices, because the Meta glasses right now has the stuff right on the
Yeah.
inside of your screen. So I thought that was very, very interesting. So they were saying that OpenAI and everybody else, they're coming for the phone. And Apple knows that too. Apple is well aware of that. So it's what type of devices will we be using that's not necessarily a phone? I find it very interesting. But if you would have told somebody 25 years ago that you were going to have a little box in your hand that could play music, record, tell you advice, and it would be, you could put it right in your pocket, you would have been laughed at 25 years ago. So these little devices, I think I'm going to be very interested to see what rolls out. And I would not be surprised by the first half of 2026, somebody rolls out the first device and that will be your brain per se.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. I hadn't heard that, but I see where you're going. And you're right. I mean, the Dick Tracy, comic strip, when
Mhm.
we had the phone and the whatever on our watch, and we have that today. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's definitely can get there. It can be, maybe it's a smaller device that interacts with something, further away that you don't have to carry, that does all of the heavy lifting, and then you just have kind of this really smart interface that takes care of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, if you've seen it on sci-fi and any movies you've ever watched, I always thought, look, that's going to be here in about 25, 30 years. So just if you need a time capsule, watch a sci-fi movie and you're going to know where you're going to be. So
Well, we'll be like the Star Trek with the little medallion on their sh
yeah,
on their
yeah,
on
we're
their
in a
on
full
their
Darth
chests.
Vader
And
outfit walking around. So
exactly. I'm ready. I need
yeah, yeah,
one.
me too. Good.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, well, let's step back from the
Mhm.
future a little bit. Where are we today, or where is small business today, and how should they actually get started? We talked about marketing as being maybe the first thing, but what are some really good concrete steps that you would recommend to a small business?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think there's so much noise out there, and there's buy this tool, do this tool, take this class. You got to learn prompt engineering, and there's a lot out there. Almost everybody I know is using ChatGPT in some capacity. You are using AI in some capacity. So you got to remember this at its core. AI, large language models, which are LLM, which is ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, Google Answers, they're pulling from somewhere. They're pulling from somewhere, wherever it may be. So the best thing a business can do right now is to start organizing all of their documentation, whether that's offline, online, and get it in some sort of repository. You can start with something as simple as Dropbox, Google Drive, SharePoint, something like that. Because for AI, for it to work, it needs to have something to go in and analyze. So text content is the oil of AI, is somebody coined that term a long time ago, and I agree with that. As a small business owner, as you're using all of these AI systems, remember again, it is pulling information from somewhere. So start thinking about your customer and if they're going to learn about your products, if you're going to solve a problem, whatever it may be, how are they going to do that? They're going to do that because you're going to be tapping into your systems, and you can do that right now. You can actually tap your Google Drive. I think Dropbox, I forget that with ChatGPT, it might be. I know Google Drive, SharePoint, I'm pretty sure Dropbox too. But you go in there and it starts extracting that information. So organize all of your information. If you have a lot of processes that maybe you never digitized, which is rare to find, but it happens with companies, get all that organized and start putting it online. Have all of your marketing information put into a file. Have all of your sales procedures put in a file. Have all of your product inventory put in a file. Have it truly, truly, fully digitized. Because what's going to happen is as these AI things are growing, it's going to get very easy to start plugging into these repositories. That's the next big step. Make it easy for your AI to start talking to my content very quickly so that I can build products that's going to solve problems and grow me down the AI world. So I tell customers all the time, or any type of business owner, I'm like, the best piece of advice I can give you, close the noise down for a minute, organize your stuff internally, and be ready for when this stuff is just going to simply plug into your outlets and it's going to start pulling your content. It's happening right now between chatbots, ChatGPT, and multiple other things right now. The companies that are starting to get ahead, they realize that and they're organizing their content and getting it ready. And then they're creating more content based upon the questions that are coming in and they're starting to grow. That's right now, that's the true way to succeed in AI.
Yeah, interesting. And I think you're right. I mean, in AI, everybody says context is everything. Well, the context is that data.
Yeah.
And if you have that right and you have that available for your AI engine, then you are going to get significantly better answers.
Yes.
And so then that's the goal, is how can we more quickly get to an answer that is exactly what you want it to be, and what really then has digested everything that you have. So you really are providing a good value add. One last question. I'd love to keep going, but but at some point we've got a break. What advice would you give an upcoming new marketer?
Mm, that's a great question. Outside of find another career, I wouldn't
Now,
say
now.
that. Um, I think if I had to tell the best advice I can give for a marketer, I would say is go back and learn the history of marketing. Go back and understand the whole world of the madmen of Dom Draper and building a brand and positioning yourself. Really understand the pillars of marketing. I think too many, man, I sound like the old man on the yard right now, but too many young kids just dismiss the fundamentals of what marketing is. And that's a problem. Because if you understand the fundamentals of marketing, you're going to start looking at AI marketing and everything else and say to yourself, well, if we do it this way, this may work. And the brand's got to look this way in certain spots. Because again, I come back to that. We've been trapped into this lead gen hamster wheel for 5, 10 years now. And I feel like it's like a quick hit, it's a quick sale and so forth. You're not building any brand equity. And the companies that are going to succeed are the ones that are building brand equity, not just online, but offline as well. So my advice would be take a step back, read about marketing, understand, marketing and so forth, and how it started and how it is right now. Once you understand that actual basis, then you're going to be able to make intelligent decisions as you are interacting with ChatGPT and whatever product that is giving you, let's do this with the marketing campaign, let's do that with the marketing campaign, because you're going to start looking at it with a different lens and say, maybe we want to do it this way or that way. So I hope that advice makes sense, but I think the history of marketing is really glossed over a lot. And I think that's a mistake right now. Too many people are moving on from it, and it's invaluable to understand where marketing was and where it is today.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of younger marketers as well. Well, I just need to do a thing on TikTok, or I just need to, set up something on Facebook or whatever it is. And right now it's TikTok, or there's a couple of other ones out there. But to be really successful, those original tenets that were developed over the last, 20, 30, 50 years, like you were saying with Don Draper and then with Phil Kotler and the four Ps, is if you can interpret and apply those concepts to what you're doing on TikTok and how your viewers are then trying to consume your content, how they're finding out about your content, that whole picture then will start to really make sense. And I think even if you did want to do a business on TikTok, you could be significantly more successful because you really do understand those the history of marketing and then all of the tenets that underlie how successful marketers were able to achieve the great success that they did over the years.
I agree. Go look at some of the great influencers. Go look when you look at the influencers out there right now, are like, well, they're doing this or doing that. No, a lot of the great influencers, you really pay attention, they understand the fundamentals of marketing. You don't think you're being marketed to, but you are, and they are outstanding at it. So when you start looking at it, opposed to the fly by night, they gain all the followers, they move on. But when these young kids they're not even young. There's older people who are doing great on TikTok. They just understand the fundamentals of marketing. I think no matter how crazy AI gets, no matter how crazy the world gets, in business, the fundamentals of marketing are always going to matter.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Len, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate your opinion, although not sure how it's going to be received with the transitions in jobs
Yeah.
that marketing are going to suffer through. But I think you're probably on the right track. So, how can folks get a hold of you and learn more about you and your company?
They can just come to comexis.com. They can just fill out a contact form. We work in a very, unique way. We don't scale up to hundreds of clients. You work with me directly. You work with my very talented team. We bring in AI stacks for you, and then we also have an AI assembly line where we're building products. So when you work with Comexis, you are working directly with me.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Len, thank you so much. And that's comexis.com,
Yep.
COMMEXIS.com. So please reach out to Len at comexis.com. Thank you so much. And for the audience, definitely please stay tuned for many other videos on this in this series of the backstory on AI and marketing. And if you'd like to learn more about my upcoming book, go to marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. Len, thank you so much. Really fantastic to have you on today.
Thanks, Guy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.